Martinsville Speedway opened in 1947. The very first event was a modified race. Nearly 70 years later, the tradition continues as NASCAR's oldest division is set to tackle this historic oval. Welcome back to the Martinsville Speedway in Martinsville, Virginia. For tonight's Virginia is for Racing Lovers 200 for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Kyle Rickey joined by Bob Dillner on a cool but dry 53-degree night, a near 30-degree temperature drop from when these cars were last on track for qualifying yesterday. And Bob, how may that throw a wrench into these plans for the race teams here tonight?
Well, it threw a lot of wrenches into this one here today. Yesterday was practice. It was warm. It was humid yesterday, and now cool temperatures. A new tire for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour for these teams. So there's a lot different, including myself in the booth with you instead of being on pit road yesterday.
Bob Dillner coming upstairs here tonight with Ryan Flores, just coming off a NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race as a crew member with Junior Motorsports, and will stay down on pit road here for us here this evening. You can see the sun out. Beautiful day, hardly a cloud in the sky here at the Martinsville Speedway, but that was not the case 24 hours ago.
Today, a stark contrast to what it was yesterday. The rains came after qualifying yesterday and made things miserable. Teams waited for a long time. There was hope at one point, but Mother Nature just evaporated that hope in a hurry by pouring down tons of rain on the paperclip. And the teams had to do a lot of different things. Had to move the haulers out of the infield to prepare for the Cup Series coming into town. So it's a busy day today with the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series as well as the NASCAR Cup teams getting into Martinsville, getting ready for battle. But that was a very fast car there yesterday. Patrick Emmerling with his #1 machine.
All of the scheduled on-track activity here was completed yesterday. 2 practice sessions led by Andy Seiss and Steven Kopsick, the first and second sessions. Qualifying took place about an hour or so before the rains came, and it was Patrick Emmerling picking up the pole position, his 6th career American Racer Pole Award here on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. So Patrick going to lead the field to the green flag here coming up in just a little bit. This Martinsville Speedway, we talked about it a little bit ago. One of the most historic racetracks in the country, opened in 1947. The very first race here at this racetrack, a modified race won by NASCAR Hall of Famer Red Byron, and the modifieds took a little break for a few years, but they've been pretty steady here from the 60s all the way to 2026.
This is one of the biggest races of the season for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. I remember when my dad used to bring me down to Martinsville Speedway from Long Island, New York, which was our home in the late 80s. It was a thrill and a bucket list item for us as a family to come down. And all these teams feel that. And one of the biggest reasons is because the grandfather clock, the award, the trophy, if you will, to the winner at the end of the event. Everyone has this one circled on the calendar at the start of the season.
And hoping to get that grandfather clock later this evening, Patrick Emmerling. His weekend got off to a good start yesterday in qualifying, and Bob was able to catch up with him trackside.
The fastest in qualifying for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour event at Martinsville. I want to know, was this a little bit of a surprise based on where you were in practice, Patrick?
It was one of them things. We had a really good car in practice. We had good speed. We had good long-run speed in particular. We were trying to work on how to get the American racer to fire, the right front specifically, and we kind of just picked a direction. It was either we thought it was going to be good, and yeah, it ended up being in the right direction.
So the grandfather clock on the line today. Have you allowed yourself what it would be like to win at a prestigious place like Martinsville and get that clock?
Yeah, I absolutely love it here. I mean, it's just an honor as us modified guys to come to tracks like this, and just absolutely love it. We had, and a lot of times I was here, we had good runs, good cars going. We always had speed. We just had a lot of tough luck here. So like last year, we were pretty close to in the hunt to win it. It would have been a race at the end, and then we had a car shut off. So we're just, yeah, we're just gonna do the same thing. We just need things to go right and a little bit of luck on our side. We're good to go.
Patrick and his crew chief, Dale Hedquist, they are hoping to take home the clock here tonight.
33-year-old from Orchard Park, New York, a 9-time winner here on the tour and looking to get to victory lane in 200 laps here tonight at the Martinsville Speedway. As you get a look at a couple of the cars at the front of the grid, getting ready to fire their engines here shortly for tonight's running of the Virginia is FloRacing Lovers 200. We talked about this racetrack here in Martinsville, Virginia. Opened in 1947, just a shade over a half mile. It's a hybrid surface, concrete on the bottom of these corners, at least in the first couple of lanes on the inside. Asphalt the rest of the way around, and just 12 degrees of banking. Not a lot for these teams to work with, the drivers to work with.
And this surface, as you mentioned, the combination of asphalt and concrete kind of definitely throws a little bit of a monkey wrench in for these teams. How do they hook up the race cars, especially with a modified? And I believe that it takes a lot of finesse, a lot of discipline, and a lot of people believe that this new tire with American Racer is really going to play into this race here today because of the finesse nature that it takes to steer a modified around this racetrack.
Going to be fun to watch and see if we get long green flag runs and how that strategy will come into play here this evening. Remember, at the end of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour race here back in October, we actually had a bunch of cars running out of fuel in the closing laps of the event. Some of the teams just didn't hit it right as we get set to go trackside for the command to fire engines here tonight at the Martinsville Speedway in Virginia.
Martinsville Speedway, please welcome Miss Virginia, Madison Whitbeck. She is here tonight to give the command to fire engines.
Drivers, start your engines!
31 cars come to life on pit road. Pace and parade laps and the green flag coming up from the Martinsville Speedway here in Virginia. It is race 2 of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour season, and it's coming up next here on FloRacing.
It's been a staple in the law enforcement community for so many years that why would you go anywhere else?
We can enhance lighting and enhance our sirens, faster, more aggressive flash patterns, and more aggressive siren tones to get better attention at intersections.
When we get newer cars, the Whelen products, they get, more and more advanced.
It supports Whelen's mission as a whole to protect those who protect us.
Didn't even think about that.
Back at Martinsville Speedway, field continuing to idle down on the pit lane, and in just a moment they will be rolling for the first of several parade and pace laps before we go under the green flag. Better late than never here tonight at the Martinsville Speedway for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, as it has been a while since they have been in action. 49 days to be exact since their season opener at the New Smyrna Speedway down in Florida. As we get a look at the front row, Patrick Emmerling to his outside. Danny Bone had a great qualifying effort here last evening, and will start alongside Emmerling on the front row.
Yeah, Danny Bone looking forward to this race here today, and that number 25 machine owned by Mike Smith. And here's a look at the race analysis for the Virginia is FloRacing Lovers 200. This race 200 laps, 4 tires in the pit area. But I think the key thing here is you can take those 2 tires each time you come down pit road. But I think that fuel window really, when we come down to it, is going to be a big factor in this race. All the teams tell me about 180 laps on that fuel window. So this is a 200-lap race. You do the math right there. There's going to be a lot of strategy involved here today.
Of course, the number of caution flags could dictate that number, or at least fluctuate that number as this event continues. We get a look at some of the most recent winners. Justin Bonsignore going for 3 in a row here tonight, has won the last 2 trips here to the Martinsville Speedway in 2024 and 25. Ryan Preece, Corey LaJoie, also some of the more recent winners here for the modifieds at Martinsville. Cars begin to work away around the bottom of this half-mile oval now on the pace laps. Here's a look at the starting lineup. Patrick Emmerling and Danny Bone, mentioned just a moment ago, they will lead the field to the green flag.
Row number 2, former NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour champion John McKennedy, and on the outside, coming off his first NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race here at Martinsville, Luke Baldwin in the 7NY.
Craig Lutz will go to the inside of row number 3, and former Martinsville winner Eric Goodale to his outside in the 3rd row.
Starting 7th, he has never won at this racetrack, and he wants that grandfather clock. Ron Silk in the number 7 spot, and Andrew Moeller in 8th.
Then it's going to be Teddy Hodgson and Justin Bonsignore to round out the top 10.
Paulie Hartwig and Steven Kopsik, who comes off a good run last week in an open modified show.
Hardwick making his debut here tonight. Those are the first 6 rows. Further back, Andy Seiss and Ryan Newman in row 7.
And Matt Hirschman, best average finish among active drivers at Martinsville, line up on the inside of row 8 with Timmy Salamito in the 66 and 16th.
Tyler Ripkema, coming off a good run at New Smyrna, will start to the inside of the 9th row, and then to his outside, Trevor Catalano.
Andrew Krause will line up on the inside of row number 10. Kyle Bonsignore, who has won races on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour way back in 20th to start this one.
Tommy Catalano and Austin Beers, who won the championship here back in October, will start deep here today.
Jimmy Zacharias, 3rd generation race car driver out of the Zacharias family, and Michael Christopher Jr. in the 31, hoping to have a good run here today at Martinsville.
That's the front 24 as the field comes across the start-finish line. Luke Fleming, Ken Hagee in row 13.
Yeah, Dave Sapienza not going to be in the starting lineup here today. Jeremy Gerstner in the 55. And then how about Jack Baldwin, another Baldwin, that's Luke Baldwin's brother, in the number 38 with Stokes shoes on the side of that race car.
And Corey Plummer and John Michael Chanette to round out our starters here for the Virginia is for Racing Lovers 200. A lot of big names deep in the field, and we're going to be watching some of them hopefully make their way to the front, including Austin Beers. Will start this one in the 22nd position.
A big surprise in qualifying, and you saw him yesterday climb out of that race car. He was frustrated, but maybe that'll motivate him today. He tweeted out earlier, today's a new day. Let's go for the grandfather clock.
Good crowd on hand here tonight at the Martinsville Speedway. They begin to come to their feet here in the grandstands on the front stretch. Part of a doubleheader for the folks here in Martinsville following the O'Reilly Auto Part race. An unexpected doubleheader after Mother Nature pushed this NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour race to this evening. Pace truck on the pit lane. Here comes the field off of turn number 4. Patrick Emmerling, Danny Bone bring the field down. Columns at 2. Green flag is out. We're underway. Bone topside, Emmerling to the bottom as everybody races to turn 2 for the first time.
Danny Bone with a lot of momentum on the outside, but I believe that things are going to pan out for Patrick Emmerling off of turn number 4. A lot of side-by-side racing now, including Luke Baldwin on the outside of John McKennedy for that 3rd spot.
Top 2 get strung out. Emmerling and Bone. The racing is now side-by-side for 3rd as they started the event a lap and a half ago. McKennedy and Baldwin get into each other a bit. Baldwin out of shape. He saves the car. They stack up behind him, including Ron Silk and Eric Goodale. Looks to get a spot now on McKennedy as Baldwin takes 3rd.
And I look at another driver starting to make his way into the mix here. That potent number 51 car of Justin Bonsignore did not qualify as well as he had hoped back in the 10th spot. But this guy knows how to wheel a machine around Martinsville.
He has led a bunch of laps here over the last couple of laps, or last couple of races en route to those 2 back-to-back wins in 24 and 25, and right now settles into line in position number 4. Just does Justin Bonsignore, just behind Eric Goodale in the 3rd spot. Baldwin in 2nd. Patrick Emmerling already beginning to tiptoe away just a bit at the front of the field.
You see the 58 of Eric Goodale. Definitely not the right scenario for him yesterday in that first practice session. That rear end locked up on that race car. They had to put a new rear end in that machine, and he missed all of second practice, but a good qualifying effort for him.
Brought out the only red flag in practice yesterday for Goodale after stopping on the racetrack as we watch some of the action mid-pack. Tyler Ripkema among them in the 13th position. Just behind him, Andy Seiss, Timmy Salamito in the mix, Ryan Newman in the race tonight, and right in the thick of things here, along with that 22 car of Kyle Bonsignor.
Yeah, Salamito in that 66. He's got a new guy consulting for him here today, and that is Justin Link, who has been really strong in guiding a lot of race cars and setting them up for people in Southern modified racing, and he's helping out the Salamito family out of New York.
Kyle Bonsignor to the inside of Ryan Newman in that 0, a brand new team here on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. We'll talk more about that here in a bit, but had a tough time in qualifying yesterday. Glenn Stiers, the owner of that team and also the owner of Whelen Speedway up in Canada, and a boatload of different types of cars in different series across not only here in America, but also up in Canada.
Indeed, and Ryan Newman's real excited about this opportunity with Glenn Stiers to run Martinsville, and a lot of work went into that race car to prepare it. It had been sitting, just sitting still in the shop for a long time, and Ryan Stone actually worked on that car with Ryan, as well as Steven Kopsick, who was over in the Carolinas this past week after running at South Boston last week with the Smart Series.
Kopsick in this race here tonight as well. Looked good in both practice sessions yesterday, running among the top 10 in 8th right now as we watch Matt Hirschman in a battle for position mid-pack. That's Paulie Hartwig, the third, just in front of him. Hartwig in his NASCAR Whelen Modified debut because he wasn't old enough 49 days ago at New Smyrna to compete.
Turned 15 on February 25th. So now Paulie Hartwig III going after the Rookie of the Year honors with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. The kid is flat out good. Won a Smart Series race at Hickory Motor Speedway, legendary track in North Carolina last year. And then, man, did he really run well at New Smyrna during the World Series competition. Grabbed himself a Tour Type Modified win and the Crate Modified Championship as well.
Hartwig in that number 73 car, leading the pack of traffic into turn 3 on your screen, and has one of the best in the business behind him in Matt Hirschman. Again, this battle just a mid-pack out of the top 10, 11th, 12th, and Tyler Ripkema in that 3 car is 13th in Old Blue. In fact, leading this pack, also a relatively newcomer to the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, former Stafford SK champion, and Andrew Moeller.
Yeah, Andrew Moeller with 10 wins at Stafford Motor Speedway in Connecticut, and he's got this ride, I am told, full-time for the remainder of the season. So this Danny Watts racing machine has been around the modified ranks for a long time. It is a very strong ride, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Andrew Moeller can do behind the wheel of the 82.
6 prior starts here on the Whelen Modified Tour, but not since 2021. His best effort, a 16th at Stafford, right now running among the top 10. Still early in the race tonight. This battle from 10th on back. Patrick Emmerling has led all the laps thus far and continues to lead now by 1.1 seconds over Danny Bone in the 2nd spot. Luke Baldwin in 3rd as this battle continues for 10th.
You know what's interesting about Paulie Hartwig? You see Matt Hirschman putting the bumper to him a little bit. Everybody biding their time right now, figuring out this new American Racer tire and what it's going to do during the race at Martinsville. But as far as Hartwig, we talked about winning that Tour Type Modified race down during Florida Speed Weeks at New Smyrna. I love his line in victory lane. Everybody else is going to go out and drink beer. I probably will have some apple juice after this win as a 14-year-old at that time.
Turned 15 on February 21st. They get younger every year, Bob, and we get older every year. And a lot of talent right now in that number 73 car. There's Ryan Newman in the 0. Trying to fend off Kyle Bonsignor in the 22. This is 17th and 18th on Speedway. Newman made the pass a lap ago on Kyle Bonsignor to take that position. Andrew Kraus in the 24, just behind them, along with Tommy Catalano in the 54. But you're right, everybody just has kind of settled in line around this half-mile oval, just wanting to get some laps under their belts.
And I think everybody is trying to figure out when they're going to come down pit road. We're nearing the fuel window. Everybody said we have to get get at least 20 laps underneath our belts to have a caution come out and feel confident that they can make it the rest of the way on the fuel window. Well, we're about 1 lap shy of that right now, and I think you're going to see, if you have a caution early here, you're going to see a lot of people on pit road.
Ryan Flores on the pit lane for us here tonight, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, fresh off a top 10 effort in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series as he was crewing for Junior Motorsports. And we'll hear from Ryan in just a little bit as Kyle Bonsignor has his hands full right now with Andrew Kraus in the 24. It's the best battle mid-pack. Kraus reeling him now within a car length.
And I look a little bit further back. I was watching Austin Beers as well as we take a look at Ron Silk and Steven Kopsick. Ron Silk has never won at Martinsville in 9 tries. And that's something that's in the back of that 2-time NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour champion's mind. This team very strong. Hartwig now losing a couple of spots right there. Here comes Tyler Ripkema to the inside of the 73.
Yeah, Hirschman got to the inside, Ripkema to the bottom. Timmy Salamito goes to the inside off of turn number 2 in that number 66 car. So Hartwig will fall back to the 14th position and jam that car in line just in between Salamito and Andy Seiss, who is lined up behind him, and then Seiss has several behind him as well. So Hartwig trying to minimize the damage right now.
Andy Seiss and his family in that number 70 machine, they're the epitome of what modified racing is about. There's a lot of diehards here. A person like Andrew Kraus just loves modified. Stephen Reed, you know, his crew chief, has been around modifieds forever, and that's what the modified family is all about. We grew up around it. So did a lot of these people as well, and they love modified racing. But you know what they love more? Coming to Martinsville, not only to have the hot dogs, but to enjoy what has been such a tradition for a long time.
And that's why there were over 30 cars on hand trying to qualify for this race yesterday. 31 starting, and so far clean and green in the first 25 laps. Catalano to the inside of Bonsignor for a spot in the back half of the top 20. That's 19th and 20th. Tommy Catalano and Kyle Bonsignor shuffled up to that outside lane. Austin Beers has not made a whole lot of headway in the race. Car 64 for Austin, the defending champion, having a tough time getting through traffic right now.
It's interesting to watch Austin Beers, and Martinsville is a tough place to pass. You got to get to that inside line. You got to get a run up off the corner like he's trying to do on Kyle Bonsignor right here. But the interesting thing for Austin Beers, think about that top 10 streak that he has going right now. 31 consecutive races. This kid, a chip off the old block. His dad, Eric, was so good for so many years, and Austin Beers hoping to continue that top 10 streak in tour races today at Martinsville.
Has not finished outside of the top 10 since a 26th place effort at the Richmond Raceway back in 2024. That's why he was the champion last year. Consistency pays, and trying to get back to that consistent form here tonight for Austin, and has a long way to get there. 21st right now, but a long way to go. 170 laps to go when they get back to the start finish line. But as we say that, he's about to lose a spot. Here comes the 31 to the inside. Michael Christopher Jr. going to run the full season here in 2026. Goes to the inside, but there you see some of the numbers on Beers.
Yeah, Beers is just a natural talent behind the wheel of a modified. Had a great opportunity in the Race for the Seat program as well, and did well in that program. This kid is going places. I know Dale Jr. has talked about him in the past. The kid has so much talent, and as I was mentioning, his dad, Eric Beers, was such a good modified racer for such a long time. This kid was a student of the game. I remember him as a young top just coming to the racetrack, watching his dad, absorbing everything, learning everything, and that's why he is now so good behind the 64 car. Ron Juhas really doing a good job at making sure this car is right for Austin each and every race.
Ron Juhas, a former driver in his own right here on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, and helped guide Austin to the championship a year ago. But right now, Austin just hanging on to the top 22. Lost the 21st position last time, or I guess 2 laps ago now, to Michael Christopher Jr. in the 31. Christopher, in turn, reeling in Kyle Bonsignor in the 22. All of this action about 12 seconds behind Patrick Emmerling, who has led all the laps thus far, continues to lead and continues to open it up. 1.3 seconds back to Danny Bone, but keeping an eye on Michael Christopher. about to dive to the inside of Kyle Bonsignor. Christopher, another driver that has come out of the Stafford Speedway up in Connecticut, runner-up last couple of years in the SK Modified Championship run, and be nice to see him full-time here on the Tour in 2026.
It is exciting to see him get this opportunity. Think about it. This is only his 11th career NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour start. He's got that victory, but he has an opportunity this year to do something that he's never done before, and that's run for a championship. This is a good team. Matt Hirschman behind the wheel of that car last year, and Michael Christopher Jr. I saw his dad, Mike Christopher, yesterday. We got a caution on the racetrack.
Caution is out for a solo spin off of turn number 4. It looks like Ken Hagee in that number 18 car, the 58-year-old from Calverton, New York, loops it off of turn number 4, trying to get it righted, but there's a lot of traffic coming to his outside right now. But once the track is clear, he will catch up to the tail end of the field. Minimal, if any, damage for Ken Hagee, a long-time Tour veteran.
At my home track as well, a modified veteran, a winner at Riverhead Raceway in Long Island, New York. And Ken Hagee, again, one of those drivers that you could say is the epitome of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Comes out to all these races, doesn't necessarily expect to win, but wants a good top 10 run. Maybe he could break into the top 5, and they pour a lot of effort into that 18 machine.
The Whelen caution lights are on. Whelen, the official warning lights of NASCAR, trusted to protect first responders.
And it looks like there might have been a little help for the 18 to go around, and I believe that was Craig Lutz in the 46 who had to start at the rear end of the field here today.
So that puts us under the caution flag for the first time after 36 green flag laps. To open up tonight's Virginia is for Racing Lovers 200 for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. These races, we've seen them go with minimal yellows. We've also seen some rough and tumble events, and you were talking about pit stop strategy a moment ago. Well, pit road is open, and here come all of the leaders making that left-hand turn to the bottom.
This is exactly what Patrick Emmerling's crew chief, Dale Hedquist, told me he was going to do. If he gets, within over 20 laps in this race, they were coming down pit road. They were going to fuel up that car, maybe change one set of tires. But I believe that number 1 team with Dale Hedquist and Patrick Emmerling think they can go the rest of the distance on just 2 tires. They're not going to take the full allotment if they stick to their plan. But right now, just fueling that race car.
Patrick Emmerling not taking tires. You can see the same with Kopsick behind him. Matt Hirschman the same just in front of them in that 60 car. Emmerling the first car down and away as everybody else tries to get out of their pit stall and avoid contact on the pit lane as they make their way out onto the racetrack. It looks like one of the big gainers, Steven Kopsick, in the 21 car, gained a few spots on pit road and comes off as second, as we'll reset the field for you in just a moment as everybody slots into their restart line on the backstretch, unless they, of course, elect to come back in on the pit lane, because they can come back in now and take tires.
And that's the unique rule with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. You can come down, you can take fuel, and then you can come back down, take a set of tires. If you want all 4 tires in one caution period, you can come down for a 3rd time and take those tires as well. So it's a safety rule that the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour does. Save some teams some money as well.
Kyle Bonsignor among those coming back on the pit lane. We'll reset the field for you when we come back to the Martinsville Speedway. .40 laps complete here at the Martinsville Speedway, and under the caution flag for the first time in this event after a spin by Ken Hagee off of turn number 4 put us under the yellow. A clean start. Everybody has come to the pit lane. Patrick Emmerling first on, first off, but they've mixed things up a bit from second on back.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. You see Steven Kopsick now in that 21 machine right behind Patrick Emmerling, Luke Baldwin in the 7NY, and then there's that number 51 back there going for 3 grandfather clocks in a row. That is Justin Bonsignor, four-time NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour champ, second winningest driver ever in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. The kid is just flat out good. I remember watching him run go-karts, you know, around Long Island and all over the country. And this kid comes from a very racing family. And I love what he's been able to do. He's been one of those student of the games as well. And he just loves running a NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour vehicle.
And has found so much success over the last couple of decades behind the wheel. Four-time champion, a 30-time winner, and so much of that success has come here at the Martinsville Speedway. Won the pole and secured the win in both of the last two races, led a combined 258 of the 406 laps run. And if he wins today, he'll be part of the history books as the only three-time winner in this series at this racetrack.
It's interesting, and I will say that he wouldn't be the only modified guy to win 3 races in a row. Richie Evans did that back in the late 70s and early 80s, but it wasn't the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. So just want to recognize the king of NASCAR modified racing as well, Richie Evans. But this 51, man, he's got a chance to really do special things in the next couple of years with this tour.
As the field gets the 1 to go signal here on the front straightaway, field beginning to double up into their rows of 2. Interesting to see what Steven Kopsick can do now with Patrick Emmerling. I feel like, and you were at the racetrack yesterday, both practice sessions, he was right up there in the top 5.
He was very fast, very disappointed with his 12th place qualifying effort yesterday. He feels like he's got a very good race car. You're going to see Steven Kopsick challenge Emmerling on this start. But the key is, as we all know, the inside groove is the place to be when they get down to the corners.
He's been close to winning a couple of times. His best career effort here on the tour, second twice, both last year. Kopsick to the outside, closest to the front of the field as he has been all night, with Emmerling, who's led all the laps thus far, on the bottom. Green flag back out. We are back underway here at the Martinsville Speedway, and again the inside lane with the advantage. Emmerling to the point. Baldwin now to challenge Kopsick for position number 2.
Definitely an advantage on the inside. Contact between Baldwin and Kopsick there, but there was also a contact between Emmerling, tire contact between the 1 and Kopsick's 21, and that kind of shoved Kopsick up about a half a groove and allowed Emmerling to pull away.
Trying to get back to the bottom is Kopsick, and Baldwin comes to the inside. That's Luke Baldwin in the 7 to the bottom, and will take the spot away. And Ron Silk trying to climb out of a fairly deep hole after an incident early in the race at the New Smyrna Speedway to start the year. Finished last, 32nd, about as deep in the points as you can get. Has a long way to go to the top, but all season to get there, 15 more events, and always a factor running in the 3rd spot, or make that the 4th right now for Ron Silk. Just in front of these ongoing battles for position, there's Teddy Hodgson to the inside of Eric Goodale. Timmy Salamito in the 66 getting bounced around just a bit off of turn 2.
And you see how quickly Timmy Salamito in the 66 comes down the racetrack. Once he was clear behind Teddy Hodgson, everybody knows you want to be on that bottom groove, even though Eric Goodale is making a good run on the outside of Salamito in the number 58. And by the way, we're running springtime NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour racing here at the Paperclip. First time since 2021, and guess who won there?
Eric Goodale.
Absolutely.
One of 3 former winners here at the Martinsville Speedway in this race here tonight, and Goodale stuck up in that outside lane right now, trying to get to the bottom, or is he? We'll find out here. Here comes Kraus to the inside in the 24. Goodale in 12th, Kraus in 13th. Paulie Hartwig, car number 73, just outside of the top 10. And looking to gain ground on Kraus as we get a look at the front of the field. Battle for second, hot and heavy. Kopsick on the rebound. A little contact there with Baldwin off turn 2.
I think Kopsick a little frustrated with Baldwin right now, pulling double duty here today at Martinsville with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. He got his first start in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series just a little while ago here at Martinsville. Contact once again. Baldwin goes way up the racetrack and open up the door for Ron Silk.
Ron Silk says, "Thank you very much. I'll go to the inside and bypass you both." Baldwin's going to lose a couple of spots as Justin Bonsignor goes to the inside, and now he's being challenged by Matt Hirschman for position, as Silk and Kopsick are still side by side for position number 2, and this is allowing Patrick Emmerling to just pull away. Full 1.5 second advantage right now at the point as we continue to watch second, third, and fourth Bonsignor to the inside of Kopsick now, as Silk now gets about a car length or so advantage over this battle for third.
Yeah, Bonsignor going to be able to pull the position on Steven Kopsick. Kopsick got to settle in. He has a shot here today with a very good race car. But the car out in front of the 51 right now, Ron Silk, you know the old adage or old phrase, silky smooth. That explains Ron Silk to a T. He's not a boisterous guy. He really does his business inside the race car. Phil Moran, one of the best modified crew chiefs in the business. He and Ron Silk have been a magical combination. And they haven't won this race here at Martinsville, but he is very serious about winning here. And that thing that happened that you mentioned at New Smyrna, where he was out early, not a good finish for Ron Silk, coming back to the tour this year, going after a championship. Right now, their focus is on one thing, winning races, and that could spell trouble for the rest of the competition.
And winning races will ultimately put you back in the championship talk when we get toward the tail end of the season at the Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park in October, as the championship race returns to that historic facility for the first time in a number of years this season. Here's Eric Goodale in a race for position mid-pack with Trevor Catalano. Goodale able to make the pass up the back straightaway just a moment ago. That's just outside of the top 10. Goodale in 11th, Trevor Catalano in 12th, Andrew Kraus in the mix in the 24 car, Hartwig in the 73, and Austin Beers slowly but surely beginning to make his way to the front, currently in the 15th spot for Austin, as Patrick Emmerling brings the field off of turn number 2. The dominant force here tonight started on the pole and has led all of the laps thus far, 57 of them. What was 1.3 seconds just a couple of laps ago is now pulled to 1.8 over now Ron Silk in second, but he gained a lot of ground as they raced hot and heavy for the runner-up spot a few laps back.
Indeed, and it'll be interesting to see how hard everybody pushes it, because you have to expect a caution or 2 or 3 here throughout the rest of this race at Martinsville. But Ron Silk, we mentioned it earlier, Andrew Kraus slowing on the racetrack on the backstretch, and that could bring out the caution. Indeed, I believe it will here momentarily, as he looks not to be underpowered.
He's looking to coast that car back to the pit area for Andrew, who is just outside of the top 10 in those that big pack of traffic that we were watching a lap or so ago. May have caught the outside wall, gets the car behind the backstretch wall pointed toward what is the NASCAR Cup Series garage this weekend at Martinsville. We stay under the green flag as Patrick Emmerling comes off of turn number 4 and continues the lead, and about a half a lap behind him. This battle for position up the back straightaway. Saw Goodale go by, Catalano, Hardwick, Beers. There's Michael Christopher Jr. under fire right now from Tommy Catalano. And now there's contact, and around goes Christopher in turn 1.
And that was just a little contact from the right front of Catalano to Michael Christopher Jr. And I'm sure Christopher not going to be happy inside that race car right now. He gets it spun around, but an unfortunate incident for the driver of the 31.
Christopher, a former winner on this tour at the Jennerstown Speedway 4 years ago in 2022, has never run the tour full-time until this season, just 10 starts coming into today for Michael, who gets that car righted and will catch up to the tail end of the field.
Got a chance to speak to his dad yesterday, Mike, and
that must have been fun.
He's intense for sure. Here's a look at the replay and see Catalano just drive down in there. Hard to tell what exactly happened. Just two guys racing for similar real estate in turn number 1. But you know, you talk about Mike Christopher. He's always been tenacious behind the wheel. Both Christopher brothers were with Teddy as well. And Mike is just so into his kid right now, and he wants to see Michael succeed here in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour and do something certainly that TC did. You know, TC was so important to modified racing for so many years, and we certainly miss Teddy Christopher, but Michael Christopher carrying on that family tradition.
I get to see Mike Christopher every week at Stafford, and every week I get a big smile and an earful, and a great guy to talk to each and every week. Good to see Michael here on the tour full time as pit road is open, and Pit stops are underway, and for the second time tonight for many of these teams, they head to the pit lane. I expect some tire changes here, as we saw for the most part fuel only a few laps ago.
Indeed, a couple people took tires, but Patrick Emmerling certainly fuel only, so they'll change the right side tires, I would expect, on this pit stop. Ron Silk is in his pit stall right now. That team going to work on that race car. And other than maybe a tire pressure change, it appears to be no other changes for Ron Silk and that team. Tyler Haight, just a great job. Phil Moran on that team. Emmerling is away. And look at Moeller as well, getting a pretty good pit stop with that 82 machine.
Andrew Moeller just behind Ron Silk, exiting the pit lane. There's the 46 of Craig Lutz, down and away. He will exit pit road as well here, as just about everybody taking tires, but not everybody came to pit road. So for the first time tonight, some new faces toward the front, and it's not going to be Patrick Emmerling who's going to be mid-pack.
This is where it gets interesting, because you're going to have comers and goers. The guys with the new tires certainly going to be charging hard, and we'll see if with these new American racers, the guys that didn't come down pit road, whether they can hold on and be steady, because we understand it's a very consistent tire.
Ryan Flores with us here tonight on the pit lane. I know pit road, Ryan, has been busy these last couple laps. What do you have down on the pit lane in the infield?
Oh, it's been busy all day long. There's like 10 pounds of stuff stuffed in a 5-pound bag here in Martinsville with the Cup cars, the O'Reilly cars, and the modifieds, and nothing has gone out. So it's been a lot to get around and talk to everybody, but really just trying to listen to what these tires are doing and what these teams are planning on doing. We saw everybody take fuel. We saw the 25 car take rears. But some guys are talking about doing 3, some guys are talking about doing 2. They don't know if they're going to use their full allotment of 4. So we'll see how it all works out. But talking to Eric Beers, Austin's dad, he says that these tires tend to not really wear, but heat cycle out. So we'll see who plays it right tonight.
All right, thank you very much, Ryan, down on the pit lane. And now a developing story for Patrick Emmerling, who is shown 9th on the leaderboard, but that's about to change, Bob. Commitment line violation upon entry into the pit lane, and now we have a tire that has come off of one car, bouncing down the back straightaway.
And it looks like it might be the right rear on Paulie Hartwig, the third's machine. So that team, something happening when he came down pit road, quite possibly, maybe not getting the lug nuts tight enough. I'm not sure, obviously, but that's what you would think after a round of pit stops here. And now Paulie Hartwig, the third, battling for the Rookie of the Year honors with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, tries to get going. You see the sparks coming out from the back of the end of that race car. He obviously is missing that right rear tire.
And the tire nearly clipped the pace truck off of turn 2 when it came off and got our attention up here in the tower, and the car stopped on the back straightaway, and you can see him working his way down to the pit lane. Not a good debut for Paulie Hartwig III as he makes his way to his pit stall. -1 tire for Paulie. So a lot happening here. Again, to recap, Patrick Emmerling will go to the rear of the field after leading so many laps early in this event due to a commitment line violation. And Paulie Hartwig on pit road now, Ryan Flores.
Yeah, I talked to Paul Hartwig Jr., his father, and crew chief Bobby Geiger earlier today, and the thing that they were most concerned about, they weren't really concerned about Paulie's driving. He's got a lot of driving on dirt, asphalt, and especially in these modifieds, but they were worried about the live pit stops. They don't have to do this on the tours or the weekly racing they've been doing before. So you see that the NASCAR Modified Series is the only regional series that has pit stops. So this is an added layer for this brand new team, and we'll see how they come back from it, but it looks like the wheel was not tight. The hub is still intact. We'll see how they handle this.
And the rear end is certainly cattywampus on that number 73 right now, and that's what I had feared, because he dragged the components on this concrete and pavement around Martinsville Speedway coming to pit road, and I believe something is amiss in that rear end, because you saw it swinging left and right. That car is not aligned, so bad break for Paulie Hartwig III making his tour debut today.
He knew something was wrong immediately from pulling out of his pit stall a moment ago, and now has come to a stop on the pit lane. We'll need some assistance behind the wall as we get a look at it. Right there off of turn number 2, just as he exited the pit lane and re-entered the backstretch, the tire comes off, bounces off the outside wall, and goes bouncing down the backstretch.
And usually when you see something like that, you saw the hub was intact. It could have been some loose lug nuts and Paulie trying to get off a pit road, and it just snapped. And that's unfortunate for Paulie Hartwig. His dad, his mom, they pour their hearts into their son's career. Remember, Paul Hartwig Jr., he retired last year down at New Smyrna Speedway to put the full spotlight on his son. This kid's going to be good. He's got so much talent behind the wheel, but this is going to be trouble for him here today at Martinsville.
Trouble for Patrick Emmerling as well. We talked about the commitment violation onto the pit lane, and he will restart unofficially right now 23rd, as he will be one of the final cars on the lead lap. We'll get a look at the violation here, coming to the pit lane and caught that orange box just a bit upon entry with the right front tire, and that's the violation that's really going to put him in the hole here.
Indeed, you got to be inside that marker right there, and that was key for Patrick Emmerling. You see he ran over it. Actually, I believe had the tire outside of it just a little bit as well. So Patrick Emmerling, his strategy now completely changes. Remember, he was going to take tires and stay out there, but who knows? Maybe he comes down to take those other two tires a little bit later on in this race.
And the angle he was at trying to get to the pit lane, how hard is it to see the orange box from where he was and his approach to pit road?
It's very difficult. Look at the air cleaner that you have right there. These cars are low, light, and left, very low to the ground. So that's a very difficult thing for Patrick to see. But at the same time, you got to wonder if maybe, you know, it was a last-minute decision for him to come down pit road.
So we'll go back down to the pit lane now. Paulie Hartwig III, you see him on the hook. Let's go to his pit and Ryan Flores.
Yeah, just got confirmation from crew chief Bobby Geiger that it was just a miscommunication down here on pit road. They did not have the right rear lug nuts. He said all the way run up, and they dropped the jack. So just some hiccups for this brand new team. This is their first year running the tour, and these are just new levels, new devils, they say. And when we talk about new levels, new devils, when you come to tracks like Martinsville, there are distinct lines, commitment lines, and that's what we saw happen with Patrick Emmerling there. And that's a little bit, that could be a case of being the leader and trying to fake guys out or not really knowing what you're going to do, or the guys behind you showing that they're pitting, so you try to counter and get down there late, or it could just be not knowing the rule of the racetrack. So some stuff that's a little different when you come to these Cup Companion weekends. There's a little bit more data, a little bit more lines on the racetrack, so a little bit different than our everyday Saturday night track.
And right now, what I want to see is how this Hartwig team keeps their composure, because this is very important. Do not let the emotions get to yourself. Make sure that you take care of this 15-year-old kid with so much talent, Paulie Hartwig III. We know that this kid is going to be good. We know he's going to win races. But when you have something like that happen as someone who has owned a race team, it's hard to keep those emotions in check.
Carson Lofton drove that 73 car back at the New Smyrna Speedway last month when Paulie Hartwig was still 14 and not eligible to run yet. And you can get a good look at Paulie now hanging onto that steering wheel, and unfortunately on the back of the hook, becoming one of the first cars out of this event here tonight. And will be fun to really watch him develop as a driver here as this tour heads north to a lot of the tracks where a lot of the regulars are really comfortable at, like a Thompson, going back to Stafford, Riverhead Raceway. See how Paulie mixes in with this bunch.
All this kid knows is racing. And we were joking with him during the Florida Speed Weeks at New Smyrna. And we said, hey, Paulie, what do you think of the Olympics? And he goes, explain to me the Olympics thing again. I kind of know the idea, but explain it to me. And that's because he has lived, eat, and breathe racing. That's all that Hartwig family knows.
All right, field getting the 1-to-go signal, doubling up into the rows of two. Stephen Kopsick, Tyler Ripkema will make up the front row. Austin Beers, Matt Hirschman, Kyle Bonsignor, Tommy Catalano, Danny Bone, and Justin Bonsignor, the front four rows. Ron Silk into the top 10, along with Andrew Moeller. And again, we'll keep an eye on Patrick Emmerling, who will restart 23rd after leading so many laps in the first half of this event. But a restart or a commitment line violation upon entry into the pit lane will penalize that team, and the #1 car will restart 23rd. Green flag back out from the starter stand. We are back underway here at the Martinsville Speedway as we close in on the halfway mark, 27 laps from now, and it's Steven Kopsick that gets the jump on the bottom. Tyler Ripkema clear in second and pulls Old Blue right to the inside.
And remember, Old Blue finished second at New Smyrna at the season opener back in February. So a lot of the stealth bombers, if you will, the guys like Tyler Ripkema, Matt Hirschman in the 60, and Austin Beers now have their opportunity, their time to shine in the top 5.
Fresh tires behind a lot of these leaders that have yet to take tires, so we'll see how that mixes things up as we go back down to Ryan Flores and an update on Danny Bone.
Well, yeah, we saw Danny Bone pit from P2 earlier, and he was the first one to put rear tires on. I asked the crew chief, Terry Hall, I said, well, what was the strategy there? He said, well, we thought other guys were going to put tires on too. We didn't really know. Like we said, these guys usually run the Southern Tour down here. They don't have this option. They do brakes and do a right rear. So new levels, new devils, as we said, but this is going to be a good recognition of what's going to happen later in the race, because he is the first one on tires and he's made his way back to the top 10, but he has been mired back in the pack.
And Danny Bone is a tough-nosed racer. He's ran in the NASCAR Truck Series. He's modifieds in the Northeast and down south. A third-generation racer as Ron Silk now goes to the inside of that 25. But he knows how to win. Won at Anderson Motor Speedway with the Smart Series earlier this year. But this is a special race because this is a Southern team, Southern-based team. And Danny Bone would like to put them in victory lane here today. A Southern-based team has not won this race, or I should say a Southern-based driver, since 1992 with Satch Worley.
Bone, a former champion at Bowman Gray Stadium, so a lot of success down here in the South, and wanting to end that long streak dating back to 92 and Satch, and a Southern driver potentially getting the victory lane tonight, but it's a Northern driver right now in Steven Kopsick at the front of the field. There's Matt Hirschman, the number 60, mid-pack, actually not mid-pack, running third right now up the backstretch, but well behind the top 2. Hirschman and Kyle Bonsignor, third and fourth. Justin Bonsignor in the 51, Danny Bone in the 25, just behind them. If they, for the most part, singled out toward the front of the field behind the 21 of Kopsick.
I like what I see right now out of that 22 machine, even though there was a little bobble right there, and Ron Silk is going to try to pounce with those fresher tires. Bonsignor's car doesn't look evil like it did early in the race. He was all over the racetrack. Whatever they did on the pit stop has dialed in that 22, and now he's even able to keep the 16 at bay, at least for now, with those older tires.
Kyle Bonsignor, a 3-time winner on the tour, including last year at the White Mountain Motorsports Park. Just into the top 5 right now, and trying to fend off one of the best in Ron Silk, who has a lot to prove here tonight, wanting to get to victory lane for the first time here at Martinsville. And then you have Justin Bonsignor just behind him, trying to make history and becoming the first 3-time consecutive winner in car number 51. So great race for position for 4th, 5th, and 6th now as they go back to turn number 1.
And Bonsignor is smart. He's making Silk do all the hard work, open up the door, and he's just following that silver number 16. So Bonsignor is so mature behind the wheel of a race car. He has really taken to these modifieds from Riverhead Raceway, a bull ring, a quarter mile. Now he can run and win anywhere with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour.
Justin getting out of shape a moment ago, but able to follow Ron Silk to the inside of Justin's cousin, Kyle Bonsignor. Now both of them work over Matt Hirschman for the 3rd spot. This is 1.5 seconds behind race leader Steven Kopsick. Tyler Ripkema in the 2nd spot in Old Blue, number 3.
Hirschman, Silk, Emmerling now. We're going to watch him try to come back through the field after that commitment cone violation. So he's got a lot of work ahead of him if he's to get back in contention for this win.
Let's get more from his pit and Ryan.
Yeah, I spoke to crew chief Dale Hedquist just now, and he said that they were expecting everybody behind them in the pit. When they didn't, it caught Patrick off guard. So he was looking in the mirror, missed his mark, and ended up pitting anyway. They put two rear tires on this car. They're up 7 positions, so we'll see where this one works out for the guy that had a stronghold on this race from the beginning.
Trying to make his way back up through the field, car number 1. In the 14th position, gained a lot of ground, restarted in 23rd for Patrick Emmerling, and now is on the back bumper of Ryan Newman as they go back to turn 3, and that is a full straightaway behind the lead duo. Steven Kopsik in the 21, Tyler Ripkema in the 3. Then a bit of a gap back to Ron Silk, but this battle for the lead is hot and heavy right now off of turn number 4. Kopsik has it. Here comes Ripkema. Dives to the inside going into turn number 1. Doesn't have the momentum, and now there's contact.
Contact with the tire, the right front of the 3 machine. Hopefully that wasn't severe enough contact to affect that race car, but he definitely got into Kopsik. But it's so good to see Ripkema and Old Blue run this well for the 2nd straight race.
This team has run well at this racetrack for decades and decades. A team that has amassed over 300 wins. Won the 1968 Dogwood 300 here with Bug Stevens. Just one of many wins at this racetrack for this race team, looking for potentially another one here tonight. It's been good to see the Bowler family hang with this tour for so many decades, even before the tour was the tour in 1985.
And they've always been so much fun to watch. You've seen it time and time again in the pits. Old school approach to modified racing as opposed to some of these other teams. Kopsik now getting a little bit of an advantage over that 3 car. I don't know if Tyler Ripkema is trying to figure out if that right front after that contact is okay, but he's lost some ground to the 21, and Ripkema a pretty good shoe as well, you know, with so much success in the Race of Champions series as well as here on the tour.
Should mention that NASCAR Cup Series driver Ryan Preece is also won here at Martinsville in that car. Ripkema giving it a good run here early tonight, but you're right, losing a little bit of ground to Steven Kopsik in the 2nd spot, now 0.7 of a second between the top 2. As we go back to pit road, hear from Ryan Flores in our race leaders pit.
Hey, Kyle and Bob, I caught up with Steven Kopsik earlier today, and I said, man, you led the last practice. What happened in qualifying? He said, dude, my car is bad fast. I just missed it in qualifying. So he was really optimistic about tonight. And then I also caught up with Ronnie Silk right after that, and I said, Ron, you've never won here. Your numbers aren't great. He said, I should have won here back when I was driving for Eddie Partridge in the 6 car, but we broke a rear end. And every year I've come here, I've had to worry about winning the championship. So he's going for it tonight. Talked to Tyler Haight, his car owner, earlier in the week. He also told me, Tyler Haight, that he was the fastest tire changer on pit road, but that's yet to be determined. But with their deficit coming out of New Smyrna, they said that they were just going to try to win everything because that was the race with the most cars at it. So that 37 points deficit, they said if they win every race, it'll take care of itself.
32nd at New Smyrna Speedway to open up the season for Ron. 37 points back, so you get a good look at Ron Silk now running in 3rd and trying to begin that climb out of the deep part of the championship standings and potentially in title contention. Still a long way to go. This is just race 2 of 16 here this season for Ron Silk, but if anybody can do it, it's Ron.
And I like what I see out of that 16 car right now. A little loose coming off the corner there. You saw Ron's hands on the wheels. Thank you to wearing white gloves. Allows us to understand what that car is doing, but he's just trying to get to the top spot, trying to knock off the 3 machine of Ripkema right now for 2nd. But I believe that that car will go anywhere where Ron Silk wants it. Look at the drive that he's got up off the corner.
And like Ryan said a moment ago, 37 points back. In the grand scheme of things, they're still fairly tight. He can gain a bunch of ground tonight with a win.
There's a bunch of races here, and you know, you're going to have a mulligan at some point during the season. You're going to see Justin Bonsignor and all the other title contenders as well. Now they can't maybe have another mulligan, and that's the key thing. They have to be consistent. They have to go after wins, and Phil Moran and Ron Silk know exactly what they're doing.
Lots of racing still to go here this season for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. This is just race number 2. They'll go to the Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park for the Icebreaker in a couple of weeks' time on April 12th. Oxford Plains Speedway on May 2nd, and on down the line through a very busy summer for the tour up in the Northeast, and plenty of time for Ron Silk to get back into this one.
It's old school NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour racing. Oxford back on the schedule. Stafford. I mean, it's exciting to be part of the tour this year, especially with all the money up for grabs.
And a champion to be crowned at Thompson. the third and final visit to that famed 5/8-mile high-banked oval in northeastern Connecticut here in October. Still a long way to go between now and then, as we watch Ron Silk able to take second and pull away from Tyler Ripkema in third. Interval still about the same between the top two, 1.8 seconds. Steven Kopsick over Silk, then it's Ripkema. Further back, Baldwin, that's Luke Baldwin, to the inside of Kyle Bonsignor. 6th and 7th, and make that 8th with Danny Bone lurking right there in the 25 car.
Luke Baldwin is such a talented race car driver, just 19 years old. One of the young guns, if you will, in modified racing. And, you know, his dad, Tommy Baldwin, a Daytona 500 winning crew chief, and his granddad, the Tiger Tom Baldwin, so good, former winner here a couple of times at Martinsville Speedway. So this place is special to the Baldwin family, and I know Luke really wants to run well today.
Just outside of the top 5 right now for Luke in position number 6. Baldwin, just 19 years of age, from Mooresville, North Carolina. Tonight, his 17th start here on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Finished second at the North Wilkesboro Speedway last year. Up front, Steven Kopsick out at the front of the field. Car number 21 from Newtown, Connecticut. Still looking for that first Modified Tour win, although this is just race 23 for this young driver who has found so much success on and off the racetrack in all forms of modified racing.
Yeah, Spring Sizzler winner. That was a big one for Steven Kopsick, and Patrick Emmerling continues his quest to make his way through the field. But in terms of Kopsick, we know how talented he is. It's just a matter of time before he gets that victory. Could it come today? Certainly. Last week finished second in the King of the Modifieds at South Boston Speedway. But Kopsick, you know, kind of cut his teeth there at Stafford in the SK modified ranks. Did so well moving to the tour type modifieds. The kid is one of those younger generation drivers, like we've seen that generation swing many times in modified racing. I believe we're starting to see one here as well.
A lot of success in SK light modified racing up in the Northeast, SK modified racing as a crew chief, as a setup guy. Now finding some success as a driver here on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tours. He is about to close in on the tail end of the field, including Luke Fleming, who is the next car about to go a lap down as we watch the battle for 4th.
Matt Hirschman making a complete focus on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour this year. Did not run the entire modified schedule down at Florida Speed Weeks at New Smyrna. He ran the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour event. He skipped the King of the Modifieds last week at South Boston, and that's because they have one car. They're focused, this PD Motorsports team, on winning this title, and I think that that's something in the back of Matt Hirschman's mind. Everybody will tell you, I don't think there's anybody better in modified racing over the last couple of decades. But the lack of a title on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, I believe, at this juncture of his career, is certainly weighing on Matt Hirschman. His dad, a 5-time Tour-type modified champion with the NASCAR ranks. So I believe that's something that he's concentrating on, and I've never seen Matt Hirschman more focused.
Looking for that first Tour championship, has his hands full with a driver that has won several of them in Justin Bonsignor, who goes to the inside and will pass Matt Hirschman, who has finished second here at Martinsville Speedway 3 times, 2008, 2022, 2024, and led several laps here last fall for Matt Hirschman. Let's hear more from the driver that just passed Matt a moment ago for the 4th spot. That's Justin Bonsignor, Ryan Flores.
Yeah, early in the week, I talked to Justin's crew chief, Ryan Stone, and I said, when Justin got out of the car in Victory Lane in New Smyrna, he mentioned that you guys have been hard on the pit crew, wanting to get better. And Ryan said, yeah, you know, we just felt like we were resting on our laurels. We've had so much success. We've won 4 championships, and we lost by 8 points. Think about 8 points over the course of the season. That could be one bad pit stop. So it felt like everybody was a little too comfortable. So a couple hard conversations to make sure everybody was still bought in. And he feels like this 51 team is as strong as they've ever been.
Change up front, a lap ago. Thank you, Ryan, on the pit lane. Ron Silk to the front of the field for the first time here tonight over Steven Kopsick. Made the pass off of turn 2 and up the back straightaway about a lap and a half ago. And new race leader from mid-pack to the front for Ron.
And I don't think this is just a difference in tires because Ron Silk's car is just really, really good. You look at Justin Bonsignor, who also changed tires. He's in 4th. He's not been able to follow that 16 to the front of the field. So interesting to see the difference between Bonsignor and what he's been able to do with those tires, as well as 6. So I don't think it comes down to just fresher tires in this case.
Ron had his hands full a lap ago, sawing at the wheel off of turn number 4, trying to break away from Kopsick in 2nd. You mentioned Justin Bonsignor, still 4th among the top 5, but 3.7 seconds back as the race leaders are really strung out right now. Silk out front by 2/10, and you see it on your screen right there. That equates to about 4 car lengths on the racetrack. Back to Kopsick in 2nd, Ripkema in 3rd, unchallenged in that spot. He is all by himself in Old Blue. Then it's Justin Bonsignor and Luke Baldwin, 4.3 seconds behind race leader Ron Silk right now. Baldwin in that 5th spot.
81 laps to go in this one. The complexion of this race can certainly change. And there's Teddy Hodgson, one of the Rookie of the Year competitors, challengers, if you will, in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. This guy, a former SK Light champion at Stafford Motor Speedway. Just a darn good kid. Great family as well, because his dad's a crew chief on this car. And remember, they ran at Martinsville last year and had a good run, you know, approaching that top 5, and then obviously had, you know, everything just kind of fall apart at the end of the race on how that race played out. But Hodgson is a talented race car driver. We've seen him run well in Tour Type Modified racing during speed weeks at New Smyrna, Stafford, you name it. This kid's got a lot of talent.
Nearly got a top 10 at the New Smyrna Speedway last month, finished in the 11th position. Right now, mid-pack has his hands full with Timmy Solomito. That's 13th and 14th. Solomito in the 66, but Teddy has really matured as a driver the last few years, picked up that SK Light Modified Championship at the Stafford Speedway. Found a little success in SKs, but has really shined in Tour Type Modified racing, running some select starts the last couple of seasons.
And sometimes that extra power, depending on your driving prowess, just helps out a little bit. We know it has for Patrick Emmerling as well. He is a Tour Type Modified driver. Success, 3 championships in the Race of Champions Modified Series. Coming over to the Tour, he's got all the victories. Now wants the championship as well, and he's starting to gain a lot of spots in this race. Emmerling up to 8th after that penalty, so this car is running well. Ryan Flores?
Laps are winding down, though, and Patrick Emmerling tearing through the field, just ran the fastest lap of the race that last lap. But is he going to run out of time? That's what everybody's wondering down here. The strategies are so mixed up with only 75 laps to go and the field a little bit strung out. You can see the tension building down here on pit road. Dale Hedquist atop this pit box. Looks like he's ready to pull his hair out, but he knows he built a fast race car, and if they get the cautions fall their way, he'll be back in contention of this race.
I think that's the key thing, Skip, in terms of Emmerling. He needs some cautions right now to close this gap. He's on the same tires as Silk and Bonsignor, so that's not going to be an advantage for him. So really, it's all about where the cautions are going to fall, and you got to expect there's going to be another 1, 2, or 3 in the closing 74 laps of this race.
Green flag feel right now, though. 127 laps in. The Virginia is for Racing Lovers 200. Just 2 caution flags for 18 laps have slowed this event, both for minor incidents on the racetrack. Keeping an eye, though, on Patrick Emmerling. His climb to the front restarted 23rd. He is well into the top 10 right now, running in the 8th spot, but 7 seconds behind the car on your screen right now, and a boatload of lap traffic off of turn number 2. That is Ron Silk in the 16, and that traffic has allowed Stephen Kopsick having to avoid Hagee in turn number 3, had to turn right, lost a lot of ground, but able to save that race car in the 21. That really allowed Silk to drive away.
Stephen Kopsick having a great run in the 2nd spot. Skip, what do you know?
Stephen Kopsick is one of those guys that has not put tires on yet. So I asked, hey, what's he battling with? And they said, we're just running our own race. We're going to let Silk go. We're going to worry about ourselves and our tire strategy. So just taking care of that car right now, as you saw him navigating traffic, they really had to take care of it to keep it out of the fence. But they're just worried about themselves, running their own race, taking care of their car right now.
Kept it off the wall, but has a bit of a cushion back to Tyler Ripkema in second, but it really allowed Ron Silk to pull away to a 1.2 second lead right now for Kopsick.
I love that insight on what that team is thinking after getting passed by Ron Silk. They're just going to run their race right now. They know they have older tires, so let Ron Silk run away with this one. Maybe wait on a late race caution, maybe save enough tires that it kind of equals out in terms of the tire disparity, in terms of the amount of laps on that set of tires.
And if we do get another caution, and obviously it depends when it falls, who comes to the pit lane, who stays out, and will there be enough laps left for them to use the fresh rubber and get back to the front of the field? Not a lot of yellow. Unlike what we have seen in years past here, this race has been under the green flag for a majority of the 133 laps run thus far. Just 67 laps to go. 2 brief yellows, and that's about it.
And that's an astute observation in terms of when it's too late to take tires. And I believe if you get down to 50 laps to go or less with how these American Racer tires hold up, I really don't think you're going to see many people near the front of the field come down pit road. I would expect some of the people maybe from 6 on back, they'll take a shot, but I don't believe anybody in that top 5 will with under 50 to go.
For more on tires and potential tire strategy over the next 66 laps, let's go back to pit road and Ryan.
Yeah, Bob, these teams are definitely getting smarter with the tires. I've been walking around trying to see who had stickers left in their box, but nobody does, because most of these teams have put a heat cycle on their change tires. They went out, run a lap or 2 really slow to just knock the new off of this. This is something you would never see with the Hoosiers that we ran last year. So the teams, even though we're 1 race in, are starting to learn more about these American racers.
And these American Racer tires are constructed definitely different than what we've seen in the past, but the teams are beginning to understand them. They don't pick up a lot of the rubber that you normally see in a lot of races across America in terms of short track racing. So they stay nice and clean. And it's a little bit of an adjustment in terms of the fact that these don't really drop off like some of the other tires these teams have experienced in the past. So slight adjustments, but you know, Skippy's right. You know, these teams are learning them in a hurry.
That was the one common response that we got following the race at New Smyrna Speedway, is there wasn't a lot of fall off, and seems to be the same here tonight as Zacharias goes a lap down in the 71.
You know what's interesting, you take a look at those tires and you see the wear indicators, those holes across the plane of the tire. I talked to a lot of crew chiefs and they say you can put 50, 75 laps and those wear indicators just do not go off these tires.
Getting a look at the indicators there on the right side of your screen as Ron Silk puts a lap on the 82 of Andrew Moeller on the left side of your screen. Moeller in the 22nd position. All of this lap traffic has not really allowed Stephen Kopsick to gain much ground. Still 1.4 seconds. Say that, now 1.1 seconds between the top 2, but Stephen now has to work through a lot of that same lap traffic as he exits the back straightaway and races into turn number 3 for Ron Silk. Bob, you surprised that we've been cleaning green for much of this event as we get a look at battle just into the top 5 with Bonsignor in the 51 and Danny Bone in the 25.
I hope it's not the calm before the storm. That's what I'm hoping right now. But Danny Bone bringing the storm on Justin Bonsignor. Look at Bone run really well here in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, only with a handful of starts in his career, but he now moves into the top 5. And as we mentioned, this is a Southern-based team. Most of the members in this team have been together for 16, 17 years. Some from Stewart, Virginia, some from Mount Airy, North Carolina, but this team is part of the fabric of Southern Modified Racing. They come in kind of as an invader, if you will. Started on the outside of the front row. Skip was talking about how they had to learn what tires they needed to take, what changes they needed to take in terms of taking 2 tires versus the 1 they're allowed on the Smart Series. And now Danny Bone is conquering things, moving further up the field. I'd be interested to see what Danny Bone would be able to do if we get a caution here in the last 50 laps of this race.
Danny Bone out of Freehold, New Jersey, just 6 starts on the tour coming into tonight. Has run well in the past, had a top 10 effort at the Langley Speedway back in 2017, and right now looking to up that stat here, running in the top 5, bypassing multi-time champion Justin Bonsignor. Now there's Patrick Emmerling. His claw to the front continues. Car number 1 closing in on Bonsignor for 6. He bypassed Kyle Bonsignor just a couple of laps ago for that 7th spot.
Silk able to be so smooth on the outside, although he struggles a little bit getting by Jack Baldwin. Just as I say that, Baldwin, by the way, making his first start. Ken Hagee goes around again in the 18 car.
Second incident of the night for Ken Hagee, this time off of turn number 2, where incident number 1, about 100 laps ago, was off of turn number 4 for Ken.
Well, guess what? We're just outside that lap 50 cutoff that I was talking about in terms of if somebody like Patrick Emmerling wants to come down pit road. He finds himself the number 1 car in 7th right now. So I'm sure Dale Hedquist kind of wondering what he should do as we look at what happened to the 18 car.
Around he goes off of turn number 2. Not sure if something broke or if he was just reacting to some of the traffic around him. Car number 18.
It has looked like several times that 18 car has not been able to turn in the corners. And that's been a difficult thing in that car, tight condition, if you will. So that team will address that car. But now we wonder what's going to happen in terms of pit stops, potential ones coming up.
So pit road remains closed as Hagee makes his way onto the pit lane. They'll work at the right front corner of that car. As we go down to Ryan Flores. Ryan, what do we anticipate here?
A lot of teams on pit wall with tires in hand, so I anticipate at least all these leaders that come down and put 1 or 2 tires on these cars. Some of them even talking about doing 3, both right sides and a left rear. So it's going to be a mixed bag here to finish this race in Martinsville.
And some of the teams on that initial pit stop only took fuel, so those teams have the opportunity to change those 3 tires, if you will, the 2 right sides as well as, you know, the left rear on those race cars, but they'll have to do so in 2 separate pit stops.
2 tires per stop is the rule here on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, or per trip down the pit lane, which is why we often see the cars make multiple trips down pit road over the course of a single caution flag. Pit's still closed, red light on over there in turn number 3. And once the field is gathered, and it looks like it is as they bypass us here on the front straightaway, we should see pit road open here shortly as laps continue to wind down and getting into the final quarter of this event. Just the 3rd caution of the race. 2 spins for Ken Hagee, and then an incident involving Michael Christopher Jr. when he got turned around in turn number 1. 50 laps to go when they hit the line. Pit road is open, green light is on, and here they come.
Ron Silk leads everybody onto pit road. Nobody really looking to stay out, at least in the first 10, 15 race cars. So a lot of opportunity right now. If you're Ron Silk and Phil Moran, do you even make any changes? That cars look so good despite a little wiggle coming off a 4 on occasion. But Steven Kopsik, I believe this kind of plays right into his hand. He played the track position game. Can he get off pit road here well and have a chance to win this race?
All the leaders are in. There is Ron Silk going around to the right rear. In fact, it looks like they're doing rears on that car, right and left rear. Same thing for Steven Kopsik on the right side of your screen. We'll see who's first off the pit lane. As it is tight, as everybody battling for room on pit road, getting in and out of their pit stalls. Steven Kopsik first off the pit lane, Ron Silk, Patrick Emmerling in 3rd, Baldwin 4th, Ripkema in 5th. As we go to Ryan Flores.
Kopsik's team celebrates down here in pit stall. They're at one of the most advantageous pit stalls here in Martinsville, and the way these modified teams pick pit stalls is by points, so it really gets congested down here near the first pit box. The 16 team was on the straightaway, so they had to turn out. It cost them a little bit of time, where the 21 here in pit stall 9 could just drive straight out of their box. Also a great pit stop, so we'll see what Kopsik can do with the lead here.
This will be interesting. Kopsik, you got to expect he's going to be on the bottom groove here. You have Ron Silk that'll be on the outside. And you know, will Ron Silk be able to keep the momentum on the outside to challenge for this win? Or will he tuck behind him and look for a mistake out of that young driver behind the wheel of the 21? Which is
Steven Kopsik. Car number 21 has been out front for a lot of the second half of this night. Has looked good all weekend. Was one of the fastest cars in both practice sessions yesterday. He leads now with 48 laps to go in the Virginia is for Racing Lovers 200 here at Martinsville Speedway. Back at Martinsville Speedway in Virginia here on this Saturday night. Modified racing under the lights, delayed because of Mother Nature last night as it had rained and rained hard here in Martinsville at the Martinsville Speedway. The temperature has dropped nearly 30 degrees, right around 30 degrees from the 81-degree temperatures that they practiced and qualified in yesterday afternoon. Darkness has set in, had a beautiful sunset just about a half hour ago. Under the lights and a 46-lap shootout to settle it here this evening.
Remember I talked about that storm? This could be the storm that's coming right now. I think a lot of eager drivers going for positions here on this restart.
Steven Kopsick to the inside, Ron Silk to the outside, the 21 and the 16, inside and out. Patrick Emmerling, he has had an eventful night after a commitment line violation under the last yellow, had to restart 23rd. Will restart third here with 46 to go. Outside lane, Silk had the advantage. Here comes Kopsick back to the bottom, will drive in deep in turn number 3, trying to maintain the top spot. May have been a bit of contact there among the top 2.
A little bit of a nudge by Steven Kopsick on Ron Silk, and that's exactly what he needs to do. If he has the opportunity, just ride that 16 up the track a little bit like he did right there to get the advantage. Steven Kopsick back to the lead at Martinsville.
Now Silk just trying to hang on to second, but here comes that one. Patrick Emmerling, the fastest car of the night and has passed the most here this evening. Gets another one here up the front straightaway to the inside of Ron Silk with Luke Baldwin there in third. Silk right now just hung up in that outside lane and going backwards.
Luke Baldwin trying to pick up some spots. He's right behind Ron Silk, actually gets around Ron Silk right there. And there's Tyler Ripkema with the 16 as well. But Luke Baldwin, what a good run for him, Skip.
Luke Baldwin always so fast. One of the fastest young modified drivers in the country at just 19 years old. A 2-time Smart Tour champion already. And they lost 7 spots on their first stop. Tommy and the boys were pretty upset down here, but they were able to just lose one there and keep them in the race. They did rear tires this time, right sides the first time. But I asked his mom, Beth, I said, hey, hard hit in his O'Reilly's debut today. What happened? She said that he lost brakes in that number 5 car. And I asked if he was okay. She said his left side's a little bit sore, but he's okay. Happy to be back in his modified and going after a grandfather clock tonight.
That incident happening early in the NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race here early this afternoon for Baldwin, who is running in position number 3 right now. There's that hit driving for Chris Hettinger earlier today, and a huge hit for Luke Baldwin. Entry into turn number 3. Like Skip said a moment ago, had the mechanical woes entering the corner. Car snapped around on him and caught the outside safer wall at a ton.
You need brakes at Martinsville, and look at this. We got a couple of cars, including a championship contender, John McKennedy in the 79 and Teddy Hodgson in the 05, bringing out the caution with 40 to go.
Just to the right of the start-finish line, those two tangled off of turn number 4. Teddy Hodgson moving around in his race car.
You can see the frustration for Teddy Hodgson and that broken left front suspension on that 05 machine. For John McKennedy, he had a good qualifying effort yesterday at Martinsville in the 79 car. McKennedy, one of the most underrated drivers in America. The guy just knows how to win, and he's done so on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour, former champion. He's done so in the Tri-Track Series, MRS, where he's a former champion, but he also wheels super modifieds really well as well, a former ISMA modified, super modified champion.
9 championships for Jonathan McKennedy between super modifieds and tour type modifieds. So McKennedy in the 79 involved in this incident. There he is as the helmet comes off. Wheel has been popped off and he is set to climb out. Just saw Teddy Hodgson climbing out of his car, the rookie that we talked about earlier in this event. Right in front of us at the start-finish line, climbing out of his car as we see them get tangled up. And there was one other car. Is that potentially Ryan Newman that was out of shape to both of their outsides?
And I think you're right there. There was a car up top kind of out of shape, and that forced everybody down the racetrack. And I understand why Teddy Hodgson is aggravated. He went as low as he can go, but watch this. You see, actually, I believe it's Trevor Catalano, possibly, that was a little bit out of shape, and that forced McKennedy as well as Hodgson down the racetrack. Ryan, what do you got?
Yeah, I just asked John's team what happened there, and he said he just got sandwiched. And with these modifieds and these open wheel cars, they have so much tire that when you hit tires, it's not like being in a fendered car where you just bounce off of each other. Sometimes they grab, sometimes it knocks the wheel out of your hand. So you don't really know which way you're going to go. It's all about placement. If the guy's a little bit behind you, if you have a little bit of wheel in it, turning to the right or left, you can hop tires and can take that wheel right out of your hand. So that looks like what happened there with John. Unfortunately, the former champion's night is over.
2022 Tour champion out of the car and having to make that walk back to the safety truck and take the ride back to the infield care center, as his 79 will go off on the hook, as will Teddy Hodgson's 05. As they continue to chat here on the front straightaway, there's Teddy's car heading back to the infield here. And unfortunately out of the event after an 11th place run just a couple of weeks ago at New Smyrna to start the season.
I'm sure both of those drivers very frustrated right now, especially McKennedy, who is going to get that 79 car towed to the pit area. But McKennedy, if you think about his success, and you just mentioned a lot of it, he's only run, I was talking to him yesterday at Martinsville, only run the Tour 2 full-time seasons, a championship as well as a runner-up in his career. So he's got a great opportunity, as does Teddy Hodgson, and he's going to have some great finishes this year as well, just not today at Martinsville.
And we'll take that ride back to the infield care center as cars on the pit lane include Ken Hagee, who's been involved in a couple of incidents here tonight. John Michael Chanette in the 8, just to the right of the start-finish line. Some other takers further down pit road as well, here with 36 laps to go. Matt Hirschman being among them.
This is interesting for Matt Hirschman. He was running 14th and maybe not happy with his race car, and he figured, you know, it's only a couple of laps after he came down pit road. Still enough time to make up some spots, running 14th at the time of this caution. So he's still got 35 to go. So typical Matt. He is meticulous in his approach to not only his race craft, but also the setups and how that car feels. Comes down pit road, takes this opportunity to try to fix that race car to his liking.
At a 12th place effort at New Smyrna for Matt Hirschman. Will have a long way to go to get back toward the top 10 here tonight. Currently in the 18th position is Matt Hirschman after making a pit stop with 35 laps to go here at Martinsville Speedway. Steven Kopsick continues to lead. .34 laps to go here at Martinsville Speedway for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. The Virginia is for Racing Lovers 200. Steven Kopsick continues to lead as we work caution for the 4th time here tonight. Patrick Emmerling in 2nd. Luke Baldwin, Tyler Ribkema, Ron Silk, the top 5. But a lot of eyes, Bob, on who the driver running in 9th, that 64 car of Austin Beers.
Austin Beers has battled back. Just about 15 laps ago, he was mired back in the 16th, 17th spot. So by virtue of this pit stop and the restart thereafter, Austin Beers, in typical Austin Beers fashion, is trying to continue that top 10 streak here in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. If he's able to finish in the top 10 today, that'll mark 32 consecutive races in the top 10. Incredible.
Which is the longest streak of its kind here on the tour. The prior longest was Mike Stefanik in the 97-98 seasons. That was 24 top 10, so he has far surpassed that at 31, looking for number 32. And at first, it didn't look very good for Austin, starting and qualifying yesterday 22nd. Was out of the top 20 for much of the first quarter of this race, but has slowly made his way to the front, gaining some spots on the pit lane along the way. And Austin right now in the 9th position.
Earlier, Ryan Flores was talking about Ron Silk and maybe why he hasn't won here. The team talking a lot about how most of these races for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour and Ron Silk's time have come later in the year. See, September, October. Well, at that point, most of those times, Ron Silk was focused on winning a championship. So sometimes when you do that, you're not focused on going after the checkered flag. Well, now moving back to the springtime, like in 2021, here for Ron Silk, you know, he's able to focus on this win. We saw him lose that lead and now mired back in 5th, but you got to wonder what's in the mind of the mastermind of Ron Silk for this upcoming restart here, because he's so good behind the wheel, and we know he wants one thing: to get that silver race car in victory lane and take home that grandfather clock.
Running in position number 5 right now for Ron Silk. We talked about Matt Hirschman a little bit ago. Hirschman on pit road just a moment ago and is shown in the 18th position. We'll restart in the 9th row when we do go back under the green in the final 30 laps of this race. Let's get more from his pit and Ryan.
So during that last round of pit stops, Matt Hirschman's team had a rear air gun hose explode, so it dumped all of their track position. They came out one of the last cars on the lead lap. So now they just came back in to make some final adjustments because now they're mired back. So they're going to try to salvage a day here for this 60 team.
I think you're going to see Matt Hirschman charge hard here in the final 30 laps in this race, but great stuff there by Ryan Flores.
So the air hose issue came under the 3rd caution. They're using this caution to come back to the pit lane and continue to tweak on that 60 car. He'll have about 28 or so laps to go before this one ends up to try to make his way back to the front as the field coming to the green flag this time by.
And we haven't talked much about Patrick Emmerling, a Herculean effort, if you will, for him after that violation earlier sent him to the rear of the field. He is charged hard. He could take the lead here on this restart.
Led early, got a penalty for a commitment box violation upon entry into the pit lane in the first half of this race. Restarted as deep as 23rd, finds himself on the front row here. Green flag is back out. 29 laps to go as the field races into turn number 1. Kopsick inside, Emmerling topside, and now has Luke Baldwin to the bottom, challenging for 2nd.
Perfect restart by Steven Kopsick, and now Luke Baldwin charging hard on the inside of Emmerling. Emmerling's got a great race car. He won the pole and now trying to win the race, but Baldwin, an equally as good race car right now at this stage of the race.
Baldwin in that yellow 7 New York to the inside, trying to fend off Ron Silk in the 16. Emmerling in the black and blue white numeral number 1 in position number 2. They're all hunting down Steven Kopsick in the 21, who has been fast all weekend long as battling continues. Kyle Bonsignor, Tyler Ripkema mid-pack for 7th and 8th. They're side by side behind this conga line on the inside, from the lead all the way back to that race 4 position in the 22 of Kyle Bonsignor.
Some good side-by-side racing action. Tyler Ripkema in the number 3 machine just went by Craig Lutz. Here comes Austin Beers trying to pick up the spot on the 46 as well. This is a battle for 8th on the track.
Beers wanting to stay in the top 10, keep that streak alive. A couple of cars out of shape. Lutz, Newman, Danny Bone in the yellow blue 25, 3 wide to the bottom, and here comes Matt Hirschman in the 60.
Yeah, Matt Hirschman, we knew if he made some changes to that race car after that mishap on pit road, he was going to be strong, and he's trying to make up some spots. By the way, Danny Bone, prior to the initial caution where everybody came down pit road, was in the top 5, in a bad pit stop and lost 10 spots.
And finds himself outside of the top 10 right now in the 12th position for Bone, just in front of this gaggle of traffic just behind him. Craig Lutz, Ryan Newman, Matt Hirschman, Trevor Catalano, all lined up nose to tail, among others, as there's just 23 laps to go. At the point, it's still Kopsick, couple of car lengths, about a half second back to Patrick Emmerling in the 2nd position, but we're keeping an eye on this race 4 position a little deeper in the pack on the right side of your screen, led by Craig Lutz. Ryan Newman losing a little bit, well, instead of losing a little bit of ground, he's going to get a great run off of turn number 4, dive to the inside of Lutz in turn number 1 and challenge for that spot.
Yeah, 13th spot up for grabs in that Glenn Steyer's Zero machine. Ryan Newman, first time he's behind the wheel of this race car, trying to learn it all weekend long, and he's having a time trying to get by Craig Lutz in the 46.
Former Daytona 500 winner has found his home in the modifieds the last couple of years, and running well here tonight out of the top 10. Right now 14th for Ryan in this new team to the Tour. Really beginning to hunt down Craig Lutz for that spot as we go back down to Ryan on pit road.
Yeah, guys, I actually caught up with Ryan Newman earlier today here in Martinsville, and I said, Newman, you've won 3 times here in the Cup cars. What's the biggest difference between running a Cup car around Martinsville and a modified? And in true Ryan Newman fashion, he said, I don't know, it's just faster.
Newman sometimes got that little sarcasm in him a little bit, but he loves modifieds, and he's wheeling the car on the inside of Lutz. Lutz has been all sorts of out of shape in that 46 car the last couple of laps. Trevor Catalano trying to come along with Newman as the Zero gets the spot.
And Lutz may get freight trained here if he can't get that car back to the bottom of the racetrack. Here comes Catalano to the inside, follows Newman by on the bottom. Matt Hirschman is next in line. Michael Christopher Jr. on the rebound after that early race spin in turn number 1. Here comes Christopher in car 31 to the inside, trying to pick up a spot just into the top 15. That is 15th and 16th on the racetrack right now as they exit turn number 2 for Michael Christopher Jr. Andrew Moeller also in that pack in car number 82. Those two have raced each other in the SK ranks, talking about Christopher in the 31 and Moeller in the orange 82. And now here they are, nose to tail, in the national spotlight on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour.
And you see what Craig Lutz is doing with that 46 car. He gets off the corner good, but loses a bunch of ground. He's not good in the middle of the corner. Here comes Moeller in the 82 side by side with Michael Christopher Jr. to pick up that spot. So Moeller having himself close to a top 15 run right now. He's just outside that mark.
Into the final 15 laps for Steven Kopsick, who continues to lead and drive away at the front of the field as we continue to watch this hot and heavy racing mid-pack behind Craig Lutz, Andrew Moeller, Michael Christopher Jr., Jack Baldwin in the mix as well, as they have singled out about a half a lap or so behind Kopsick, who is on the left side of your screen and already making his way back to the start-finish line. 13 laps to run as Moeller now closes in on Craig Lutz for the 16th spot.
I've been watching the gap between Kopsick and Emmerling, and it has grown by over a half a second in the last 5 laps. So that 21 is now dialed in for that young driver.
Let's get more from his pit and Ryan Flores.
The tension is definitely building down here in the 21 box. But Steven Kopsick, he's never been to victory lane here in the Modified Tour as a driver, but he has been as a crew chief for Chase Dowling, and his crew chief is his father, as we have a caution come out here.
Caution comes out for the 5th time in this event for spin up in turn number 2, and Justin Bonsignor got a piece of it. They were racing among the top 5. Luke Baldwin, his second incident of the day. And Bonsignor's going to take that car right to the infield.
The drive for the 3 straight victories at Martinsville is over for championship contender Justin Bonsignor with that broken right front suspension. A lot of damage to the 7NY of Luke Baldwin as well. Not as much as the 51 machine, but there is a pair of race cars and drivers that are going to be frustrated after having good runs today at Martinsville.
Caught it out of the corner of my eye. It looked like Justin went to the inside of Baldwin off of turn number 2 while racing for 3rd. And the contact was made. Ron Silk had just passed Baldwin to take that spot away, and they got together up in turn number 2. Bonsignor tried to fill that hole to the bottom. Baldwin may have come down on him just a bit. Right front of Bonsignor to left rear of Baldwin, I believe, is what occurred over there in turn 2 as we watch Justin climb from the car. And he will not make history tonight after dominating the last 2 NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour races here in Martinsville. Will not win 3 consecutive Modified Tour events as he falls from this event within the final 15 laps of the Virginia is for Racing Lovers 200. And you can see the frustration on Justin's face as he makes that lonely walk to the infield care center.
He knows what happened last year. losing that championship by a mere handful of points. And this one is going to hurt. We talked about a mulligan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Ron Silk had that mulligan at New Smyrna, one of the top contenders for the title. Obviously, so is Justin Bonsignor, and he has a mulligan that he's going to have to overcome here tonight at Martinsville.
And being out of this event will fall right now to 22nd, and will probably lose at least 2 more spots and finish this one up minimum 24th for Justin Bonsignor. Baldwin still in his car. That is Luke Baldwin in the 7. And it looked like some folks from the Justin Bonsignor team talking with Luke after that contact over in turn number 2. We'll put both of these cars out of the event. After both having great nights, they were in the top 5 much of the evening, especially here lately. Luke climbs from the car. Been a tough day for that team.
And Luke's trying to explain exactly what went on, his perspective of that incident between he and the 51 team of Justin Bonsignor. So just certainly some discussion. Obviously, each team is going to defend their own position. But Luke Baldwin, talented driver. Obviously, we know how talented Justin Bonsignor is as well.
So Baldwin gathering his helmet, and now he will also take the walk to the infield. Both cars parked side by side. Again, a very packed pit area here at the Martinsville Speedway. NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series raced earlier today. NASCAR Cup Series in the infield and occupying the infield garages. That was one of the logistical, I don't want to say a nightmare, but it was tight last night trying to get all the haulers shuffled around because the modifieds were in the infield for much of the day yesterday. As we go back to the infield and Ryan Flores.
Yeah, just getting some word that Luke Baldwin feels like his rear end might have broken there. You see Tommy Baldwin working on the rear of this car, and he said he was just trying to get out of the way, so maybe a little bit of a miscommunication there, but we'll get their point of view here in a little bit.
All right, thank you very much, Ryan. In the infield, a lot happening, and that battle for position was among the top 5 when contact was made in turn number 2. Interesting that there might have been an issue with the 7.
Yeah, that is interesting and good insight for us to understand what might have happened. And you see that yellow machine of Luke Baldwin. They're trying to make that car head back to the pit road. And by the way, the yellow this year, kind of a throwback, if you will, to Tom Baldwin back in the day. Ran some yellow machines in his career. That's Luke Baldwin's granddad. And today, unfortunately, Luke Baldwin not going to be able to drive to victory lane, but he's got a lot of victories ahead of him in his career as a 19-year-old. Let's go down to Ryan Flores.
Yeah, as you can see here on the quarter panel, on the right rear quarter panel of the 7NY, it is full of rear end grease, so definitely rear end issues for the 7 car.
All right, thank you very much, Ryan. And you see now Justin Bonsignor being aided, at least the car, into the infield as the Whelen caution lights are on for the 5th time here tonight. Whelen, the official warning lights of NASCAR, trusted to protect first responders. And we're getting down to the end of this one. 6 laps to go in this race. At least a couple of more under caution.
This is good for Patrick Emmerling, because he realized now maybe where he didn't get all of what he needed out of that car on the last restart. And he is a guy that learns with each and every lap that is on the racetrack. Steven Kopsick last week at South Boston in the King of the Modifieds had some difficulty in late race restarts. A lot of pressure on that kid trying to win his first NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour event. On the outside, maybe Emmerling going to put a little bit more pressure on Kopsick.
2-time runner-up on the tour is Steven Kopsick, looking for win number 1 here tonight. Patrick Emmerling, a 9-time winner, most recently at Thompson last summer. On the front row here, will it be one of those two coming to the green flag, or will Ron Silk sneak in there? Eric Goodale, haven't talked much about him. He's a former Martinsville winner and will restart in 4th. Down to it, 4 laps to run. Green flag is out. Patrick Emmerling in the outside lane gets the edge into turn number 1, but Kopsick, the shorter way around, has the advantage by the time they get to the back straightaway and will take the lead by a car length over now Ron Silk, who is up to second.
Just what the doctor ordered for Ron Silk, able to get back to that second spot. Now he's firmly planted on the target ahead of him, and that is Steven Kopsick. Ron Silk wants a win here at Martinsville. We've documented it throughout this race. Never won here at 9 starts. Could this be the day? They're coming to 2 to go.
Here he comes, Ron Silk angling him up off of turn number 4, but can't get the run that he needed to have a look to the bottom of Steven Kopsick for the lead. It's Kopsick by a car length. Silk right there in his tire tracks, up the back straightaway into turn number 3, looking for the white flag, this time from Whelen.
Ron Silk's got to set him up going into turn number 3. Maybe a slight little bump by Ron Silk is something we could see, but he's got to get the momentum coming off of turn number 2 to be able to make that run.
Up the back straightaway for the final time for Steven Kopsick into 3. Silk tries to get to his back bumper. It's not enough. Down to the line. Checkered flag is out, and Steven Kopsick picks up his first NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour win, winning the Virginia is for Racing Lovers 200 here at Martinsville Speedway.
This is a big day for Steven Kopsick, 27 years old, grabs his first ever NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour event on one of the grandest stages of all, Martinsville Speedway.
Comes in his 23rd start. He's been on a hot streak of big wins here as of late. You mentioned picked up the Spring Sizzler win at Stafford just last year. Now a winner here at the Martinsville Speedway, and will take home a grandfather clock.
Yeah, this team is going to be pumped up too. They've waited a while for this, and now he's doing donuts. Got to watch out for that inside wall here at Martinsville for Steven Kopsick, but that might not matter to him right now.
Inside burn may have saved him from getting to the inside wall, and now gets the car fired back up. As the rest of the field pulls out of the pit lane, we will hear from Steven Kopsick and some of the other top finishers here in our post-race coverage. But what a night. He looked good. We talked about it at the top of the show yesterday. Both practice sessions, the most consistent in speed, in short run speed, in long run speed. Ended both sessions in the top 5. Didn't qualify the best, but it was at the front when it counted the most.
Great strategy tonight by the 21. Remember, they actually stayed out, played the track position game, and then had that late race caution when everybody else came down pit road to get some tires. So Steven Kopsick, a complete game, if you will. Good behind the wheel, but also good when it counted most in terms of strategy on pit road.
Kopsick looking to celebrate here on the front straightaway. Longtime competitor in open wheel modified racing, has found success in SK light modified competition and SK racing back up in his home state of Connecticut, as we see Ron Silk climb out. Not a win, but a good points day for Ron.
It is indeed a good points run after that trouble early in the race at the season opener at New Smyrna. But Ron Silk's gonna just sit there and think about this one. Came so close to his first Martinsville win, but this one just slips away this time. Let's go to Ryan.
Ron Silk, so close tonight here in Martinsville. What more did this 16 team need tonight?
I don't know. I think Steven and I had both really good cars. He beat us out of the pits the last stop and was able to control the race from there. I got shuffled back to like 5th, but great job by all my guys. Good pit stops the entire night. Really disappointed with 2nd, but happy for my buddy Steven. He deserves it.
Yeah, that's a great night for Ron Silk here, rebounding from a last place finish at New Smyrna.
To a 2nd place effort here tonight, but unfortunately, Bob, like you mentioned, 10 starts now here at Martinsville, and fall short of a checkered flag after being so close so many times, including tonight.
Yeah, what might have been. A lot of that thought is going to go and be thought about this week by Ron Silk and Phil Moran. What could they have done different? You heard Ron talk about the spots that he lost on pit road. Steven Kopsick had a great stop with his 21 team. So Silk will get a grandfather clock someday, just not tonight. But now he's right in the thick of things again in virtue of going after his 3rd modified crown.
Let's hear from another former modified winner here at Martinsville. Finished 4th here tonight, Eric Goodales with Ryan.
Yeah, Eric Goodale does not get another clock, but Eric, such a challenging weekend. Your team changed the rear end in this car. What does that mean for this 58 team?
Yeah, we've had some turnover on this team crew-wise, and I think we got like 15 laps of practice in the first session. Didn't get to practice in the second session. Had to qualify first, and ended up putting a good lap down and qualifying sixth. So just stayed out of trouble. A little frustrating to be so close there at the end. I think I called for an over adjustment that probably ruined my chance at winning, but to be down here an extra 36 hours and come home in the top 5 definitely makes it a little bit better.
A hard-fought day for this 58 team, end up in the top 5.
A rear end issue in the latter stages of first practice yesterday. They did not go on the racetrack in practice number 2 or final practice. Qualified 6th late in the afternoon before the rains came. Good run for Eric Goodale.
Austin Beers continues that top 10 streak. He is with Ryan.
Austin Beers, not a Martinsville clock, but you do continue the top 10 streak. It was a hard-fought night for you. How much are you paying attention to that top 10 streak right now?
Well, becoming aware of it, it was pretty surreal to have that. But obviously, you want to build on it, and yeah, I'm all good. Not ruin it once it's said, the announcer's curse or whatever. But to come away with this top 5, this is the team. We gained 11 spots on the pit road. This is all to them. They did an amazing job.
Another strong night for this 64 team here in Martinsville.
And the streak continues. Not only a top 10 effort for Austin, but a top 5 run here tonight after starting so deep in the field outside of the top 20 to begin the night. And qualified poorly yesterday, but made the best of it here tonight, finishing in 5th.
He had 2 wins last year, and Austin Beers will get back to victory lane. That's a very fast race car and just such a natural behind the wheel poise. It kind of reminds me of Jerry Cook in terms of, how steady he was throughout his career. Austin Beers showing that as well.
So they're setting up victory lane. The victory lane stage on the front straightaway, and once that is complete, and it looks like we are nearing completion, they'll roll the 21 of Steven Kopsick down the front straightaway, and we will hear from the first-time winner here tonight at the Martinsville Speedway. Great night of competition. Stick around a little bit to hear from the race winner, Steven Kopsick, as he wins the Virginia is for Racing Lovers 200. The 41st race in NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour history here at Martinsville Speedway is in the book, and there's a brand new winner to be added to the win list for the Tour. Steven Kopsick, car number 21, making his way up the front straightaway, about to celebrate in victory lane right below us here at the start-finish line. Great night for Steven, a great weekend, and no doubt will be a contender, especially when we go back up north, when we get to a lot of the racetracks that he is very familiar with.
And he's got a little special package to take back with him to Connecticut as well. That grandfather clock that you see up on the stage, that will be his, and I'm sure it's going to be someplace prominent in his home.
Kopsick set to climb out and celebrate at the start-finish line, and we'll hear from him in a moment. And we talked about some of those races coming up. Next up, April 12th, the Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park. Then it's off to Oxford Plains on May 2nd. First time that the Tour has raced there since 1991. Here he comes, Steven Kopsick, climbing out of the car as a NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour winner, checkered flag in hand, smiling from ear to ear, claiming the first of what I'm sure are going to be many wins here on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Let's go to victory lane now here on the front stretch and hear from him.
And the 27-year-old from Newtown, Connecticut, climbs out of his Troyer race car to the elation of this Tommy Wannick crew. His crew chief, his father, Nick Kopsick. This is a family effort, and Steven has been one of the best modified mechanics. Like we said, he's won as a crew chief, and this is his first one as a driver. Let's hear what he has to say. Steven,
you told me to come talk to you.
We talked about this earlier, buddy, but you've won some big modified races. You've won on the tour as a crew chief, but this is your first one as a driver. What does this mean to you?
It's unbelievable. I don't know what other words could describe it. Racing against the best guys at one of the Cup tracks, and it's been a long weekend. Everyone's wore out, but they stuck it out. They're the reason we're standing here. All these guys, we cleaned up some things we struggled with last year, assembled a crew this year, and I just can't thank them all enough. I want to thank them individually, but we don't have time. But every single one of these guys is the reason we're standing here. I wish my car owner, Tom Wannick, and his wife, Kayla, were here to celebrate with us. They give us everything we need. Newtown Pool's been with me for 10 years. Creative Racing, Don Barker, Rob Schultz Fuel Cells, Carson Warehousing Logistics, Harry's You Pull It, just everyone that makes this happen. My dad. We wouldn't be here without any one of those guys. If one of those names was missing, we wouldn't be here. So,
well, we talked to Ron Silk, and he was nothing but complimentary of you. But it has to be nerve-wracking for a young man. The caution comes out, and you see that 16-year mirror. How did you hold him off?
I don't know. I mean, I guess at the end of the race, we're all just looking for grip, right? Like, fortunately, I was able to fire up just well enough and turtle the bottom for those two or three laps. And, you know, we're good friends, but it doesn't, you know, he's a competitive racer, and he'd knock me out of the way for the clock, and I'd do the same to him. So couldn't be happier.
Most important question of the night. Where are you going to put your grandfather clock?
I'm not sure yet. Probably in the shop.
Awesome. Well, that is so awesome for Steven Kopsick here tonight, and we're going to do our American Racer draw. So here we go. American Racer sponsoring a set of tires, and the 13th place finisher is going to get a set of tires from American Racer here tonight in Martinsville.
That is Andrew Moeller that'll pick up that set of American Racing tires. So congratulations to Andrew, who finished in the 13th position here tonight in his first race of what is going to be a full-time effort for him for the rest of the year.
Indeed, it's going to be fun to watch him on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. That clock is way too nice to go in a shop. That needs to be in a living room or, you know, in a hallway someplace, very prominently displayed. So that'll be the nicest shop clock ever, I think, in the history of motorsports.
Hermle North America taking over the production of the clock this year for Martinsville Speedway. This is their first weekend producing the clocks, of course, replacing Ridgeway, who long provided the clocks here at Martinsville Speedway for decades. And Hermle North America providing the clocks here beginning this weekend for all of our race winners, including Justin Allgaier earlier today in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series event, and the NASCAR Cup Series winner tomorrow. And tonight, it's Steven Kopsick celebrating on the victory stage, winning here this evening by 1/10 of a second over Ron Silk, Tyler Ripkema, Eric Goodale, and Austin Beers, rounding out the top 5 finishers. And unofficially, 7-point gap. No, it's still early, but Justin Bonsignor out front over Austin Beers. That is unofficial, heading to Thompson here in just a couple of weeks' time.
I look forward to seeing some of these races that'll be on the schedule, including the Cement Palace. There's Seekonk Speedway in May, and my home track, Riverhead Raceway, in May as well. Might have to take a trip up the road for that one, that quarter-mile oval on Long Island, New York.
I'll be there and can't wait. Also, White Mountain Motorsports Park coming up at the end of June, and then we kick off the month of July, which seems like so far from now, but we'll go to the Seekonk Speedway in Seekonk, Massachusetts, as we really get into the heart of the summer schedule for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. But Looking forward to getting back to the Thompson Speedway Motorsports Park, one of my home tracks as well, up in Connecticut, that historic 5/8 mile oval, kind of where this tour was born way back in 1985. Bob, your final thoughts?
I think this one was interesting. It's nice to see Steven Kopsick pick up his first victory on the tour, but I think the tour and the players in it, everything's starting to sharpen up here in terms of who's going to go after this title this year.
It was a wild night, that including Mike Christopher Jr. go for a spin. Had a loose tire on the backstretch from Paulie Hartwig III. A lot of contact all night long, but when all was said and done, it was Steven Kopsick to pick up his first career NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour win here tonight at the Martinsville Speedway.
Produced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.